So I've been a macOS user for quite a long time, and if you've been on my channel before, you may have seen that I'll go through quite a few different desk setups. Something that's always involved in these setups is moving to a different kind of monitor. I've done a stacked display setup, ultra wide, 4K TV, and I think I may have found the best monitor that I've used to date. It's 4K and it's made for Mac, so let's check it out. If it is your first time here, my name's Almir, aka Mr. H-Tech. On this channel we make tech simple. Now if I do earn you a subscription in this video, remember there is a subscribe button down below. If you do end up liking the video, hit that like button as well. And if you do dislike the video for any reason, just hit that dislike button twice. Now leave a comment down below with an Apple emoji if you are a follower, so I can see how many actual subscribers we have watching these videos. And don't forget to follow me over on my Instagram. I'll leave a link down below as well as in the description, because I'm going to be doing some giveaways soon, and the best way to get notified of when they're live is to be a follower on my Instagram. So let's check out this monitor that I've been using now for just over a month. This is the BenQ MA320U monitor. It's a 32-inch 4K Ultra HD monitor with an IPS LED backlit display with around 140 ppi for those of you who are interested. Now when it comes to aspect ratio, you're getting a 16:9 aspect ratio, and for the colors they are quite accurate. You get 97% DCI-P3 and 99% sRGB, so that should be very accurate for doing all of your kind of creative different things on it. Now the refresh rate is 60 Hz, which is great for a majority of people out there, including creators, photographers, video editors and whatnot. If you're looking for a gaming monitor, this might not be the one. For the rest of the people out there, it does the job very well. Now you do get two 3-watt speakers in it. The speakers are decent. If you want a very good speaker experience in terms of listening to music and whatnot, I would obviously recommend getting yourself a dedicated pair of speakers, but they are usable. The monitor does get quite bright. Peak brightness is around 600 nits, which during the daytime is perfect. However, during the nighttime, I found myself having to lower it to around 85–90% just because of how bright it gets. It is always a good thing to be able to have that extra brightness if needed. It's got a native contrast ratio of 1300:1. Then you've got a knob underneath the monitor which is used for the OSD settings to maneuver about and change different settings in the monitor. And I actually like this method instead of the monitors that have multiple different buttons. It's a lot easier and a lot more convenient to go through and change what you need to change. You still get this premium type of feeling to it, especially with that clean and minimalistic design they went for, which does kind of imitate the design you get on Apple products, especially MacBooks and Mac Minis, with that silver color, matches the silver color of the monitor. So when you do combine them together, they look like one unit, which I think that was the actual design that they were going for, because they made it for Mac. So they wanted it to look like one unit and for it to be aesthetically pleasing. Now for the bezels, you do get black bezels on the actual monitor. I personally think white bezels would have looked quite cool, but that's all we get. The top 3 bezels are pretty slim, and on the bottom you do get a slightly thicker chin section. Even though it is slightly thicker, it doesn't stand out in any way, so after a while you kind of forget about it. Now underneath the monitor, where the stand is, you've got this rubber section, which you can use it for a couple of different things, either resting your laptop on to avoid any scratches, or you can place various different small items like AirPods, SD cards and whatnot like that, and have easy access to them. And then something I really like that they implemented on this monitor is that nano matte display. It kind of imitates that nano texture you'd get on a studio display, but for a lot less money. Now this one is BenQ's exclusive anti-glare, anti-reflective nano matte panel. Very nice for working in bright environments, especially in a studio display like this with lots of lights, as it does stop them reflections, or at least minimizes them by a whole lot, and it makes for a much nicer experience when you're using the monitor. So spinning the monitor around, you can see that you get quite a few different connections. So the first 2 connections being USB-C ports. The first USB-C port is pretty special because you get a 90-watt power delivery. And not only that, with a 1-cable operation, you can connect 1 USB-C cable to that port and to your MacBook. And with that 1 cable, you get display comes over, and it will charge your MacBook at the same time. So you can have a freshly charged MacBook at any given time you need to take it or unplug it from the monitor. Now the second USB-C port is a 15-watt port, so you can also use that port for charging or powering different devices. For me, what I'm using it for, I've got a BenQ Screenbar Pro which uses USB-C, and that sits on top of my monitor. It's plugged in, and then in the actual settings of the monitor I can select if I want the port to be always providing power or only providing power when the monitor is actually on. So that's all down to personal preference. Then you get 2 HDMI ports, and you get 2 USB-A ports, 1 port on the back and one port underneath the monitor, which both provide 7.5 watts of power. So I've got to say the stand on this monitor is actually pretty cool, and between me and you, it comes included in the price, so you don't have to pay extra money unlike some brands for these fancy stands. Now the stand is capable of tilting the monitor, you can even swivel the monitor, you can lift the monitor up and down up to around 115 millimeters, and you can even pivot the monitor to whatever orientation you want, whether you want it to be in landscape mode or portrait mode. And then in the settings, just like a mobile phone, you can set it to auto adjust to whatever orientation you spin it to. So if you do spin it to portrait mode, it'll adjust everything on screen to be in portrait mode. And then if you do spin it to landscape, it will bring everything back just like your mobile phone does. And that is pretty cool, I have to say. The star of the show has to be, or at least one of the stars of the show for this monitor, has to be DisplayPilot 2. Now you may have never heard of what DisplayPilot 2 is, but I'm going to show you now what it is and why it's so good. So I have the M4 MacBook Air and the BenQ MA320U monitor, and as you can see straight away, something that really stands out is the uniform color accuracy you get on these both monitors. That's one of the great features of this BenQ monitor, is it's going to mimic the color accuracy on your MacBook. So no matter which screen you're working on or moving from one to the other, you're going to get the same results, which is going to give you a really nice uniform workflow. Now, if you're interested in this wallpaper pack, I've got a bunch of different colors. I will leave a link in the description box below, as well as 100% off discount code. So the first 25 people to go into the description box and grab yourself one of these wallpapers, you're going to get it completely for free. So happy days. Now, at the top of the menu bar, we've got the DisplayPilot 2 software. So let's go into that and let me show you what it's capable of. Now, you can basically control everything on the monitor without having to go into the USD settings, just by going into DisplayPilot 2, which is something I really like because it gives you a more modern macOS-like interface. It makes everything nice and clear and nice and easy to turn on and off. Now from the top, you can control the audio of the monitor. You've got color mode. So as you can see, mine says MBook. So you've got a bunch of different color modes you can choose from. You've got Display P3, sRGB, Cinema, and then even more where you can choose the specific device you want to match the color profile. So I've just chose MacBook Pro M4. And then you've got different things like changing the brightness with software. You can synchronize the brightness of both monitors. So when you're changing the brightness, it doesn't just change it on the BenQ, it'll also change it on your MacBook. And not only do you have to change the brightness through the settings there, you can actually use the shortcuts on the MacBook keyboard for brightness, and it will work changing the brightness on the BenQ monitor as well as the MacBook. And that goes for volume as well. You can control volume and brightness straight from the MacBook keyboard or a wireless keyboard that you're using, and it will control both at the same time, which is a very, very nice touch. Now, some of the other settings we've got are, you've got the display brightness, like I said, with the sync button. You've got each display that's connected. So we've got the built-in MacBook display and the BenQ display with their set resolutions, which you can change up and down. And then you've got a bunch of different options here. So you can change, so like HIDPI, auto pivot, which I did mention before, desktop partition, HDR. You can, if you're not using both of the brightness links, you can turn on the auto light sensor that is on top of the BenQ monitor, and then it will adjust the brightness depending on the lighting scenario in the environment. You can choose low blue light, focus sync, and so much more. And then it tells you the input. So this monitor is connected to the MacBook through USB-C. If it was HDMI, it would be there, and then the other HDMI is there. So then we've got a bunch more settings in the advanced section, which is this section here with the buttons. So press that, takes us to preference settings. Now this is basically what widgets you want to be shown in the control center and which ones you don't. So for example, we have color weakness here, but it's taken up this whole row and we don't really use it that much. So all we have to do is go into preference settings, toggle off color weakness, and now it's gone. Makes for a much nicer and cleaner interface. And then if we go to advanced, there's a bunch more stuff. So you can change the language of this whole system. You can change the power LED indicator if it's bothering you, the one underneath the monitor. So you can turn the light off if it gets in the way. And another one is the always on power charging. So with the ports on the back of the monitor, you can have them continuously supply power to whether it be a MacBook or a light source. Even when the monitor is turned off, you just have to toggle it on. And now when the monitor's off, it will keep supplying power. If you want the power to stop being supplied as soon as the monitor is turned off, just toggle this off. And then as soon as the monitor is off, all the power that's going through them USB-C ports will also stop. Now I really like this Display Pilot 2 software. I think it looks really good the way they've made it fit into the macOS system, and then the way you're able to change all these menu systems without having to go into the OSD systems, as well as syncing it with the MacBook and being able to change the brightness and the volume through the keyboard is really great, and I'd love to see more manufacturers do this with their monitors. The BenQ MA320U is definitely not the cheapest 4K monitor out there, and I don't think it's trying to be honest with you. When you take into consideration the display quality, the connectivity, the extra features like Display Pilot 2, and that really cool stand that gives you them different orientations and swivels and whatnot, all included in the price, it's definitely one of the best options out there that I've experienced myself. Now they also do have a 27-inch model, which is exactly the same, just smaller, for a little bit cheaper price. I'm going to include links and up-to-date pricing in the description box below. Let me know what you think in the comments box below, as well as if you did like it, what was your favorite feature. Now remember, if you want to grab this wallpaper pack, there's going to be a code and a link in the description box below for the first 25 people to get it completely for free. And there's a bunch of wallpapers in there for your desktop and mobile, so go and grab it while you can. And don't forget to go follow me over on my Instagram, because I'm going to be doing a bunch of giveaways soon. I'm going to leave a link here as well as description and comments box below. And the best way to be involved and know when these giveaways are going live, as well as be taking part, is to be a follower over on my Instagram. And as well as the giveaways, I do some behind the scenes stuff there, some of the stuff that doesn't go on YouTube. So if you want to see that, go and follow me over there. Now, as always, I appreciate your support. If you did earn your subscription, hit that subscribe button below. If you did like the video, hit the like button. If you disliked the video for any reason, hit that dislike button twice, and I will catch you on the next one. Thank you for watching.